Hey guys, I'm Tim. Welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. Today we got a great 10 at 10 for you, so get excited.
Today's the 10 at 10 for July 11th of 2023. I think you're gonna like this one. Obviously, we got some great big stuff to be bringing back out here. I know you guys really enjoyed our recent 10 at 10 where we brought you the XL 2 gallons. Well guys, we're doing it again. There's some excellent sizes today. I'm Matt. I think you're gonna wanna stick around for this whole episode of the Mr. Maple Show.
Now guys, we're gonna be talking about 10 of the 20 trees getting listed today. So check your email. That should be coming in your email boxes right now if you're signed up for our weekly email. And then you'll figure out the full listing of 20 plants getting listed today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on MrMaple.com. Guys, this is always one of the fun times of the week when we get to show you some cool plants that you can have in your garden and you can actually purchase them on the same day.
All right, let's get into it. We've got a 1 gallon here. We'll start out first with this one. We're bringing back Pink Princess.
Guys, Pink Princess is a dwarf witch's broom that was
And gals.
that was found on Beni Shishahinga by our good friend Carl Munn. We got to put the name on it of Pink Princess. In the early spring, Beni Shishahinga has that pink color. And that's why we put the name Pink Princess on it, because this is a more dwarf form of Beni Shishahinga. It's very vigorous at a young age, but grows very, very dense and full and short.
I find that Pink Princess holds its color and has less reversions than Beni Shishahinga. It's a little bit more stable even, which is unique. You know, very much a unicorn amongst maples. It's very rare to see a tree that is a broom as well as variegated, making this really the only Japanese maple I can think of that has both characteristics.
Now it has really small foliage too, so it has much smaller foliage than Beni Shishahinga, meaning it's a great candidate for bonsai, but also makes a great candidate to grow in a container out in your garden.
Yeah, this one is perfect for really any setting. And who doesn't want a Pink Princess in the garden? I got 2 little girls. They're always gonna come check on the Princess, and phenomenal tree to be growing. Acer palmatum Pink Princess.
So coming back by popular demand, we've got Acer Shirasalanum Moonrise. Moonrise was one of the very first maples of the year. There's another selection by our good friend Carl Munn, and this thing just puts on lots of pink-red new growth that's just constant across this over top of this lime green.
Oh, this one is phenomenal. The apricot growth really accentuates that yellows to lime greens. You can even get some dark reds going on in this one. It is phenomenal for its color patterns. It contrasts so well with itself. You really don't even need anything else in the landscape. I've said this before. I think it's probably the pinnacle for Acer Shirasalanums. I don't know that you can beat Acer Shirasalanum Moonrise. Phenomenal plant, and it's one that does tend to sell out. We try to get it as frequently as possible here on MrMaple.com. We're bringing these 2 gallons, and they're great size, so if you want to start with something a little bit larger, this is a great way to add Moonrise to the garden.
We've got a large Acer Shirasalanum Moonrise at our gardens at Maplewood Gardens that really just puts on a show. This is a plant that you can really put it in your garden, use as a focal point planting, and it's going to give you some really nice lively lime green, and then it just seems unreal when it keeps putting on that new growth over top of it.
Yeah, this one's going to work zones 5 through 9. Moonrise is one of the very best Shirasalanums for hotter areas. You're definitely going to have to give it some protection at zone 9. Zone 8, though, this one does phenomenal for a Shirasalanum style, and this one will outperform Arium and Autumn Moon in the Deep South. Guys, great chance to add a 2-gallon Moonrise to your garden today. All right, from one full moon to an Acer Japonicum full moon, I've got Maiku Jaku coming back. This is Acer Japonicum Maiku Jaku.
Guys, this is the dancing peacock Japanese maple. The leaves look like a peacock displaying its feathers. It goes from yellows to oranges to reds in the fall, and everything's bigger on the Japonicums. The foliage, but also the blooms in the early spring, when you get these red tassel flowers hanging down that contrast so well against that green foliage. It just makes an amazing contrast out there in the garden and really shows up well because most Japanese maples aren't really known for their flowers. This one has some flowers you can really enjoy.
Yeah, this one is phenomenal, especially in the fall color. So it looks like a peacock. That's where it gets that name. This is actually the same tree as Aconitafolium. You'll see it sometimes sold as Acer Japonicum Aconitafolium. I've even seen it sold as fern leaf, but we believe the original name on this from Japan to be Maiku Jaku, which translates as Dancing Peacock, and everybody loves that better. I do think it's the original name, and Dancing Peacock so aptly describes what this tree does. That foliage, especially in fall, can have peacock-like fans, especially when you turn it up. That leaf looks like a peacock, and it's just amazing. This is probably one of our most popular Acer Japonicums, and I'm glad to be getting this one back in stock.
Well, guys, let's
gals,
let's talk about another Acer Japonicum. What's that? This is the 3rd full moon maple in this 10 at 10. So your full moon lovers, get it super excited. Next, we've got Acer japonicum Owasami.
Owasami, larger leaves than that, more of a rounded style foliage than the Maikujaku. Still phenomenal fall colors. It's not uncommon for this one to be red, yellow, and orange all at the same time in the fall.
Now, how does this differ from the dancing peacock? It doesn't have as deeply serrated foliage as the Maikujaku. Definitely has more rounded foliage to it with some slight incisions that go in. The fall colors are electric, but this is one of those Japanese maples that can get some really large foliage to it with a nice rounded leaf. For full moon Japanese maples, they're some of the best fall color Japanese maples on the market. And often many of them go to fall color based on the timing of the day as that changes in the fall rather than the temperature. So you get a very consistent fall color on many of the Acer japonicums. Just an added bonus to having a tree out there that you can really enjoy fall color each and every year.
Now you're still going to get that phenomenal red tassel flower on this one. That's indicative of all the Acer japonicum species and some excellent sizes in this. I mean, I always use Tim for a reference. Me and Brian are big guys too. Tim's right at exactly 6 foot in shoes. And you can see these 2 gallons are phenomenal sizes.
Yeah, great sizes on a lot of these 2 gallons out here today.
What's that, a snake bark maple? Let's do it. All right, this one might be, what is this, a 3? This is beefy.
It's a 5.
A 5? All right, we're shipping 5s, guys. Acer rufinervae erythrocladum. And we're shipping it to you gals too.
Y'all, this thing really gets some really nice bark interest to it. This is one of those coral bark, snake bark types that can really give you some nice yellow oranges to like orange reds on the bark itself. It is an electric snake bark selection. And it's called a snake bark because this type of species actually gets some white striations in the bark that gives the appearance of snake skin. And you get that with a nice colored bark as well.
Such a cool plant. Snake barks have those large leaves. I actually love the samaras on these too. We talked about the flowers on Acer japonicum. The samaras, or the seed on snake barks, are really interesting to me. They have these like tassel-like designs. They kind of hang down in sequence. It gives you almost a wind chime-like quality when these are in seed. I think it looks really cool hanging off of these. Now this one is, in that coral bark family, so consider this one a winter interest tree as well. You're gonna get bold oranges to yellows on erythrocladum, and it really brings it in that 4-season interest. So you're really gonna have a spark of color even when you're out of leaf in the winter.
Now this is a plant you want to give some protection from the hot afternoon sun, and make sure you give snake barks good drainage. They don't like to have wet feet. But this is an amazing selection that gives you a unique texture out there with that larger coarse foliage. It's going to give something very unique and very different. And then you've got a unique foliage, you got a unique winter interest bark, and you also get some great bright yellow fall color on this as well. So snake bark maples, really fun tree to enjoy in your garden.
Now Acer rufinervae are plants that love good drainage. So any of your snake barks, here's a little pro tip. Make sure to give these excellent drainage. I often like to site them on a bank or a hill. That's how snake barks actually grow native here in western North Carolina. We have Acer pennsylvaticum here. And watching how that grows, it often leans onto other structures. I put one of these up next to a shed, and it has a little late day shade from the shed, but it also kind of has that protection of being close up to it. And it's done excellent for giving it just a little bit of extra protection. So site this near something, and I think it can give you interest with the bark against that background, but also a better growth rate overall.
Guys, it's time to get crazy. We got Acer palmatum Crazy Crinkle.
Now, I think the original name on this one was Kinky, so I'm glad you didn't say it's time to get kinky. I've seen it sold as Kinky Crinkle. I can't even say it without laughing. Kinky Crinkle and Crazy Crinkle. This was an introduction by Talon Buckholtz, and he said that the lady that named this one his nursery was crazy. So I hate to ask what the original name came from, but you're going to love this one in the garden. It can almost fit into that lion's head category. It's got that curled foliage. It's very reminiscent of Nanyat. You don't get quite the bark interest on this one, but you do get that insanely cupped foliage and a neon purple border on that in the early spring. So this one almost has that painted nail-like look over top of that ruffled leaf.
Now the leaf is more ruffled and it's more serrated, and that gives this tree a very unique and crazy appearance. Now in the early spring, this one actually has a purple border sometimes around the edges of the leaf itself, giving an additional interest in the spring with that curled cupped foliage. Tighter compact habit, but it's still vigorous as well. This is a plant I love. It's very unique, very, very different, and it gives you some really nice shades of red in the fall.
I really like the border. I think that is one of the things that sets it apart. If you want a Shishikashira-like foliage, this one kind of has that with a Tatsumagaki-like quality to it. So you're really going to get some just interesting foliage going on. It's a photographer's dream, and you really get a serrated, ruffled look to it that kind of gives it a regal overall appearance.
This is an awesome plant. I think it's a very great one that you can use in your garden, and it gets some really nice height to it. Just very unusual and very different.
Whether you're going kinky or crazy in the garden, it's a good one to have. Okay, from one Talon Buckholz introduction to another, we got a lot of Acer Shirasolemums on here today. 2 gallons of Acer Shirasolemum Shira Red.
Guys, Shira Red is one of the very first Acer Shirasolemum selections on the market besides Trompenberg, which is a hybrid Shirasolemum that really came on the market that has some good red color and is an actual Acer Shirasolemum.
Pair this with that Moonrise, perfect pairing. I love getting Talon's introductions out there whenever possible, and Shira Red is a classic Shirasolemum. You're going to get some really bright to almost fiery red color in the fall on this one, but the spring color really brings it with a bright red to then a maroon red late.
Now, people often ask, they say, you know, this is a red Japanese maple. How is this different than something like a Bloodgood? Well, ask someone like Rod Umlas, and he'll be able to tell you that in those really, really cold winters that you have, if you're in a zone 5 like Rod is, and you get a really hard cold spell, the Acer Shirasolemums that are red are extremely cold tolerant. They perform extremely well in those colder climates. They're later to leaf out. And so there's a big benefit to having some of these red Acer Shirasolemum hybrids.
Beautiful tree. You can actually get a little bit of orange sometimes in the fall, but red's the primary color. And this one's going to work zones 5 through 9. Like Tim said, it does have a little added protection in that zone 5 setting. You want to give this one some protection in a heavy zone 8 or 9, but it is a phenomenal grower and beautiful leaf. It definitely has some of that Matsumura style influence to a Shirasolemum style leaf.
Yeah, really cool red Acer Shirasolemum. And I guess next up, I'll bring up another red Japanese maple. Let's talk about the red bamboo Japanese maple, Acer palmatum Biniotaki.
Yeah, Tim and I, we try our best to say things correctly. I remember one of our first trips to Oregon, we're going around asking for Biniotakes in our southern accents. You find out quickly what not to say. Biniotaki actually translates as red bamboo. And you can see why it does. This one has that phenomenal bamboo style foliage on a Japanese maple. I love Linerlobums because they bring that elegance and that kind of ethereal quality of Asian gardening and Japanese gardening. And you kind of get just wind chime vibes. That's what I get whenever I'm looking at that Acer Linerlobums.
Yeah, Biniotaki, when it blows in the wind, it's amazing. This is a fun tree to pair out there in the garden with a coarser texture with something like the Acer japonicums, because they just contrast so well on the actual color of the foliage, but also the texture. And having that open, airy feel with something that has a much thicker feel like some of the Acer japonicums on that foliage just pairs so well out there, especially in your Asian garden. This is an amazing Japanese maple. Gives a very heat-tolerant tree. It's a very fast grower once it gets established. And this is a tree that can make a nice upright tree that you can look up into that'll give you that open, airy feel.
Beautiful red fall color on this one as well. It really goes through some amazing shades of kind of burnt red in the fall to then even brighter red late. And it goes through some amazing changes. This one works excellent in the garden as a focal point or as a background plant. It's going to get a little larger than a lot of the other ones. And Biniotaki, Bini actually means red, so you get that red bamboo going on. Phenomenal plant to be adding texture and just overall quality to the garden.
I know a lot of y'all love the history behind the plants. This was found by Edsel Woods in Oregon, and he would have these amazing, really elaborate dinners. And he would have spaghetti dinners, and then he would come out and he would have auctions on his cool plants that he found. And Biniotaki was released through one of those plant auctions at a spaghetti-like dinner. And it's crazy the way plants come into the nursery trade. And this one's got a cool sort of backstory behind it.
All right, next introduction, we're doing that. We're throwing a spaghetti dinner, top bidder, you're getting the red panda. All right, we got next another classic here. In a 2-gallon, we got Butterfly, y'all.
Yeah, Butterfly, this is a very white Japanese maple. It has a nice white margin around the edge in mid-spring through the fall. And in the early spring, it has a nice pink color around that edge. Fall colors on this can be some really nice shades of red, and that white margin around it will actually turn to a pink.
Yeah, give this one some early morning sun, late day shade, and you'll never see it be wider. Really get some incredible shades on there. Really kind of has that mint to cream color right now, and we're actually shooting this in July. I love that mint to cream. I think it's a really crisp color in the landscape. Because of that, it contrasts with everything very well. The fall colors are kind of fun too. You're going to get a red where the green's at, and then a soft pink where the white's at. So really nice overall color changes there. provide this one some late day shade in that zone 8 and zone 9. We actually get by with this one in full sun here in zone 6B in western North Carolina, but those hotter zones, you're going to want to give it a little bit more protection.
Now this is a plant I like to plant up close to a walkway whenever you're walking up, because you can really enjoy the really nice white margins around each and every leaf. It's a tree that you can go out and photograph and get a lot of cool different styles all across the tree because of the unique ways the leaves may sometimes sickle different directions and because of that white foliage on it. Now if you plant this tree in the background, you may not be able to experience that variegation as well, but on some years when that tree goes to just super white, you can really just light up the garden with that white in the butterfly.
Great sizes on these two for our 2 gallons. If you're watching this a year from now, they could be slightly larger or slightly smaller. But if you're watching this in 2023, this is very similar to what we're offering in our 2 gallon size. Tons of classics today.
Is this our last one on the floor?
Yep.
I think it is. Guys, we're bringing you another Benny.
And gals.
And gals. Acer palmatum, Benny Sheehan, the purple smoke Japanese maple.
All right, gals, you're gonna love this one. This one hails from Alabama. This is an introduction by Harold Johnston, and he named a lot of great plants, but Benny Sheehan's probably his Moonrise. That was probably his most famous introduction that really just stands out, and pretty darn good pairing with Moonrise as well. That dark with that lime green is gonna really show out. This one isn't a Linear per se, but the foliage is so strap-like, it gives a really unique airy approach to it as well.
The interesting thing is Harold was walking through a garden center and found a red Japanese maple seedling that had a sport on the side of it, and the sport became Benny Sheehan. It stabilized, and that's the plant that we all enjoy today. And it's got that purple smoke name because it has this really dark foliage, but it has this sort of lime green kind of smoke-like variegation on the edges of the foliage. Gives it a very unique style. And this tree is especially heat tolerant. And that's one of the things about this plant that makes it so great for the South. It can grow anywhere, but this heat tolerance on this darker red Japanese maple is just amazing.
Yeah, we got that story from Harold's apprentice, Donnie Tomlin, who, you know, we often go and track down stories on plants like this. I love purple smoke. I don't think you could have a better name too. That's a cool name for this thing. When I look in this thing, I hear some Hendrix riffs. That's what I think. This pairs perfectly with some Jimi Hendrix. And some excellent sizes on this one, guys. These are over 6 foot tall in our 2 gallons today. So if you want to get a start on this one, phenomenal size. All right, gals and guys, we've got a video coming up soon. I think you're going to love it. We're walking through probably the best maple garden for maples and conifers on the planet. It's there at Buckholtz Nursery. I love that garden. And there is a phenomenal specimen size of Benny Sheehan. You're not going to believe it. It is phenomenal.
You'll have to check out that video. Guys, this is just an amazing plant. Like Matt said, it pairs so well with Moonrise. But if you've got a hot blonde, that's another super heat tolerant selection this pairs well out there in the sun with as well. Amazing fall colors on this too. Can really give you some nice yellows to oranges in the fall on Benny Sheehan. I think it's one of the more prominent features about it that we don't talk about because it's such a good variegated plant.
Brian had some excellent fall color picks on this one's garden. I think they're the main ones we use on our website, and he was getting great fall color on this one in Oklahoma. Exceptionally heat tolerant too, being from Alabama.
And y'all, this is our 10 plants of our 20 that's getting listed today. So you can sign up for our weekly emails if you're not already on that, so you can get that heads up of what's getting listed each and every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out that email today. You'll figure out the other 10 trees that are getting listed with these 10. And guys, remember,
and gals,
remember that whenever you're checking out today, check out quickly. Many of these trees will sell out fast, and just because you add it to your cart doesn't mean that it holds it for you. It doesn't hold it for you on our website until you finish the checkout process and you have an order confirmation, and then we get a tree with your name on it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to smash that like button. We really appreciate you watching. If you're part of our international community, I apologize we can't ship to you, but we love you signing up to be part of our channel and join that Maple Mafia. You can ring that bell and you'll get notified every single time we're adding new videos. We're doing it daily here, and we've got some phenomenal garden walkthroughs coming up that you're not going to want to miss. We really put some time and effort into flying to Oregon to shoot some of these. I think they're going to blow you away. Join our team by subscribing to our channel.
And also check us out on Facebook. We have the Mr. Maple Friends group on Facebook. You can get involved in the community we've got there of great maple collectors who love sharing photos of their plants, what they're getting from us on Mr. Maple, and their gardens. And you can go in and share some of your photos of your gardens and share your passion with others that really enjoy it as well.
So thanks for watching today, guys and gals.
Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.